All right. Well, I guess we're live now. Yeah, so I guess we're live now. So thank you for joining us for another episode of the Spurs Takeover. I'm your host, Joe Garcia. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about, yes, the loss to the Los Angeles Clippers by a final score of 134 to 109. And it's not going to be pretty. We're going to say some things that need to be said. We're going to just lay it out there on the table, and we're going to go ahead and say what every Spurs fan has already noticed. These lineups that Coach Pop is putting out there, they don't pass the smell test no more. I know that it's not even, let's say, half of the season has gone by. But this far in the season, these lineups just aren't working. Two, why are we having a heavy dose of Marco and Bryn on the court at the same time? Doesn't make any damn sense. I even went as far as to put something out there on Twitter, and I get some side-eyed looks, and I'm not lying. I'm speaking the truth. I said, watch. As soon as Lonnie Walker comes into the game, the Spurs will get better defensively. And what I mean by that, and what everybody already knows, is once you get Lonnie Walker coming into the game, that probably means that, one, Marco Beninelli is coming out of the game, which makes the Spurs better already defensively. I mean, come on now, guys. I mean, this is getting ridiculous already. The Spurs, I wouldn't mind them losing as long as we saw a better effort. What we saw out there tonight was just pure ass. We saw that the old way of doing things is not working. And two, we saw that really there is no quick solution to this. It has me thinking lottery. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and start with you, Jonas. Since you're the guest, and you're a guest, of course, but let's start with you and what you had to say, because you brought up an interesting observation to me before we came on. You had sent a text to me about something that was said from the Clippers replay tonight.
Yeah, Joe. Thanks for having me on again,
Yeah.
as always. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
You just froze on me. I was like, what's going on with Jonas?
Gotcha.
I thought you were sentimental. I thought you were crying on me, bro.
Well, I ended up with the Clippers broadcast tonight. Let's just leave it at that. And
okay.
they refused, guys, to say a bad thing about DeMar DeRozan. He's a California kid. He's coming into the last year of his contract with the Spurs. He, of course, has a player option for next year. This is the question I posed on Twitter, Joe, after I mentioned that to you, was, they were talking about LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan about who's going to be on the team by the end of this year still. They think LA is still going to be a Spur. DeMar is going to be gone. They continued the entire broadcast to kind of pump up DeMar, refusing to look at the negative aspects of his game and only looking at the positives. And it makes me wonder if they could be, the organization of the Clippers could be thinking that the California kid, another one, is going to leave San Antonio for greener pastures in California, potentially with the Clippers. Now, that's just out there, putting it out there. But guys, this game was awful.
It was pure ass, Jonas. Don't even try to church it up, man. Hey, but before we go ahead and pitch it over to Steven, let's go ahead and say hi to some of our viewers. What's up, Joanne? Her comment says, why is Coach Pop so stubborn? That's the nature of Coach Pop. He is who he is, and, we ride or die with Coach Pop, and unfortunately, they just aren't working this season. And those lineups are questionable at the best of times. I think he's just looking for something. And you know what? No matter what lineups he throws out there, no matter who's out there on the court, he probably already knows the same thing that we all know. This team isn't going to get any better defensively. They are who they are, no matter who's out there on the court. Yes, they will play a little bit better defensively at times with certain personnel on the court, but on a consistent basis, they're going to give you what they're going to give you. And that has been inconsistency. So let's go ahead and read something from Jason Garcia. Jason says, trade Aldridge was a minus 24. He says, how's that for all-star stats Chris Duell. He's referring to Chris Duell and the Spurs React, which is occurring right after the game as well. Yeah, Michael Bartlett kind of got a little upset with me today because he saw my tweet and he was like, well, Marco Beninelli is like 3 for 8 or something like that. He was pointing out stats from in the game, and it was all, positivity for Marco Beninelli. Marco Beninelli has been nothing but a disappointment this season. He makes a case once in a while. He'll have a decent game, and that stays in the good graces of Coach Pop, where Marco Beninelli, which I'm now going to go ahead and appoint him a nickname. We're going to call him Baloney. They have Baloney out on the court, and Baloney just doesn't play right. His defense isn't there, and if he's not scoring, why is he out there? Tonight he was scoring a little bit. Okay, he's still a defensive liability when you have more athletic players, hence the Clippers, and then you have one, Marco Beninelli, who's out there and can't guard anybody. Then you have Bryn Forbes, who gets, caught in those mismatch situations, having to guard Kawhi Leonard. It's a recipe for disaster, and we saw what happened. And they played heavy minutes out there, and those, once again, the minutes should have been given to other people who are better defensively. Even the announcers, Bill Land and Sean Elliott, had a comment, and they said, all the Spurs need to do is get some stops tonight, and they'll be right back in the game. They're not going to get any damn stops with the personnel they have out there on the court. Have they been able to do that consistently this year with one, Marco Beninelli, and two, Bryn Forbes out there on the court together? The answer is no. And it's not going to get any better. They're never going to get stops with them out there on the court. You need to put people in there where you might lose something on the offensive end, but defensively, they're going to get you the stops you need. And what does that harken back to? The Spurs defense leads into offense. That's how they were able to play. And, most years they weren't able to get a chip every single year. But what they were able to do in most seasons is give you consistent defense and take you out there into the playoffs, sometimes getting past the first round. We haven't seen that happen, once the Big Three era came to an end. So let's hear what one of our other viewers has to say. Jason again. Hey, Frank, what's up? Frank Ramirez says, what's up, guys? What's up, Frank? Jason says, what's a bigger disappointment, Aldridge contract or Zeke contract? No, I think what's going to be a bigger disappointment is when your lowly Seahawks get bounced and the Cowboys are still out there. You heard it here first, Jason. So Frank Riojas, he says, yes, I have to agree with you. The lineups really suck. They need to try Damari Carroll in a full role when Lonnie Walker comes on the floor. More than likely, you're correct in that. I think Damari Carroll doesn't get enough playing time.
Yeah.
And we could use his defense, and he can shoot a three. So you have that going for him. D Smooth 210 says, yeah, I was the LA broadcast as well, and it was a love fest for DeRozan. He was watching it. Okay. He goes, what's up, fellas? The Global Spurs says, what's up, fellas? What's up, man? And let's see. Frank, he says, Spurs are just inconsistent, bottom line. True that. There's another one. Damari Carroll. Great defender, and Pop knows it, but he continues to leave him on the bench. And Benjamin Bornstein, he's over here joining us. You guys remember the Spurs played defense, good times. Yep, those were good times. Before the dark times that we are in right now. Global Spurs says, for us to trade LA or DD, will it take us falling a certain number of games out of 8? If not, what's the number? I think that the Spurs, as currently constructed, and I've even said it before on Chris Duell's show, they are a lottery team as currently constructed. Will they get better? Who knows? They could get better, but more than likely, they're going to be who they are. So, given that, Steven, tell us your take on this horrible game.
Okay, well, a lot to say, so get ready. No, I'm just kidding. So here's the thing, guys. With the Spurs, what the comments are, they're inconsistent. That is the truth. They are very inconsistent from top to bottom of both ends of the floor. Joe, you were talking before we came on, and Bryn Forbes, 1 of 4 tonight, just 2 points. If he's not making shots, he's as useless as Marco is out there half the time. So
Baloney, you mean Baloney? That's Marco Beninelli.
Yes.
Baloney.
Yes. So anyway, so that's a lot. One of the main problems is that they're just too inconsistent. But here's the thing, guys. Pop is the type of coach where he doesn't want to admit he's wrong. Reminds me of somebody else who I'm not going to comment who that person is. I'll let all the viewers and Jonas, I'll let you guys figure that out for yourselves who that person I'm talking about is. This person is not in sports at all, so I'll let you guys figure out who that is. But it reminds me of a person who does not want to admit he's wrong. And that's the situation we have here. I think all of us, three of us, can agree it is not working with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. It is not working. It is not working. Rudy Gay in there as well. It's not working. And the point I'm trying to make is, should a trade be made? Sure. But again, like we've talked about, who are you going to get these guys for? The Lakers are not going to give us someone like LeBron James or Kyle Kuzma for LaMarcus or DeMar. It's not going to happen. They're not going. No one team is going to give us some of their good pieces for guys who are inconsistent. A guy in DeMar who is a good scorer, very good scorer, but you can't do anything on defense.
And they're getting up there in age too. Don't forget the age factor. And they're getting up.
Yes. And I was just about to say about LaMarcus. LaMarcus who's on the wrong side of 30 now. I mean, you're not going to get much value for these guys. Your best bet is to have DeMar DeRozan leave in the offseason, which I agree with you, Jonas. He might actually do that. He might walk in the offseason. And honestly, I can't blame him for that.
We got a comment. We got a comment from the Blue Collar Sports Dad. He says LaMarcus sucks. You know what? And I'm gonna give you credit, Dylan, because you said LaMarcus sucked, I believe 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
You hung on to that, and he owned it, and everybody was giving him a lot of flack for it. And he said he did not like LaMarcus Aldridge, that he was horrible, and he didn't like him, period. He wanted him out of San Antonio. There you go. Yeah. Everybody's now seeing what Dylan was forecasting 2 seasons ago. So, Dylan, you were the Spurs Nostradamus. So there you have it.
So like I said, LaMarcus is not a consistent player. He's on the wrong side of 30. Again, who's going to want a player on the wrong side of 30? Nobody really, unless you're the Knicks, or I can't even think of who the bottom feeders of the NBA are right now, but one of those teams. So you're not going to get much in return for him. And also, where I said Pop doesn't like to admit he's wrong, these lineups are not working. These rotations are not working, yet he sticks with them over and game in and game out. It is not working. He doesn't want to be wrong and say, look, what I'm doing out here is not working. So going to what Wesley said on the last show I was on, are the Spurs throwing games on purpose? I think maybe not. I don't know. What I will say is this. The Spurs got blown away. They had a 17-point lead against Houston. Lost that lead, lost to Houston. I was thinking, okay, maybe they just didn't have it consistently. I think it's getting to a point now, and I know, Jonas, I see you shaking your head, but it's getting to a point where Pop is not stupid. Pop is not a stupid man. Okay, let's just be real.
By no means.
He's not a stupid man. No, he's not stupid at all. So he can't be that blind to see these rotations are not working, right? So he consistently goes out there over and over and put these same rotations out there. I have to question, does he want to win? At this point, does he really want to win, knowing what? And I think, Joe, you'll agree with me here. He knows this team is not going to go anywhere. They're not going to get better defensively. This is what we're stuck with. So
you know what, Steven? I'll drink to that. I'm drinking Modelo, by the way. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. I'm just having a beer.
So this is what we're stuck with. So is it the fact that the Spurs? I'm not saying they're tanking, but what I am saying is, Pop doesn't want to admit he's wrong. So what do? You stick with the same lineup you put out there, you save face. This is basically a combination of Kawhi leaving and a bunch of stuff happening, deals that shouldn't have been done, Pau Gasol's deal, Marco Bellinelli being brought back, a bunch of things that should not have been done are happening. So is this a situation where Pop doesn't want to be wrong, so he puts the same lineup out there, hoping it'll get better? Obviously it won't. They lose games, they get in the lottery, get a good pick, and try to run this back again next year with hopefully some changes with DeMar gone and possibly LaMarcus, and run it back with the young guys and see what happens. Because to this point, it is not working, and it's getting frustrating to watch the same mistakes. I even told Michael DeLeon, I was like, what am I going to write about? The same thing over and over? It's getting pretty annoying.
You know what? I can save you a lot of trouble. Just go ahead and write a post and just put one word on there. An apostrophe. So you're going to give it a little hyphens. Ditto. Ditto. And everybody will know what you mean. You know, I mean, come on. Let's go ahead and point out some stats on the night. Okay, we had the starting five of Trey Lyles, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeJounte Murray, DeMar DeRozan, and Bryn Forbes. As a whole, I know people say the plus minus doesn't tell you the whole thing about the game and what happened and what transpired out there on the court. No, it doesn't, but it does tell you a hell of a lot. And at the starting five, we're all in the negative. They'll start with Trey Lyles, minus 10. LaMarcus Aldridge, minus 24. DeJounte Murray, minus 22. DeMar DeRozan, minus 17. Bryn Forbes, minus 15. And Michael Bartlett's favorite man, Marco Beninelli, who had 17 points on the night, a.k.a. Baloney, he was minus 14 on the night. Yeah, how's that for stats for you? Baloney doesn't give you consistency every night. What he does do is he makes sure that he's inconsistent on the defensive end. Bryn Forbes too. Bryn Forbes, if he's not scoring, he's a streaky shooter. He's a liability. I love Bryn Forbes. He's a good shooter. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of what happens to him on the defensive end really isn't his fault. He's just an undersized shooting guard, But when you compare him to one Patty Mills gives you better production.
Yeah.
Patty Mills, he's been really good this season, I got to say. Last season he was not the Patty Mills that he is now because he was called upon to be a starting point guard. He's not a starting point guard. He's a role player. Now that he's back in his role, he's doing what he needs to do. So I'm looking here. The only thing I can take away as a plus for tonight is we got to see Lonnie Walker. We got to see Shazemi Metu. Shazemi only played 8 minutes. He had 2 points. He had a dunk at that. We got to see Blocka Portal, and he had a couple blocks. I think, he had like 2 blocks on the night? Let me check the stats here. No, he had 4 blocks on the night. So Blocka Portal lived up to his name. He lived up to the billing. And to go along with his 4 blocks, he had 6 points. Any points you get out of Blocka Portal is a plus. The dude's, he's good on defense, man. And he only played 16 minutes out there.
I was just about to say that, Joe. The Spurs gave up, 19, 18, whatever the number was, dunks tonight? And Jakob, I even tweeted this. I was like, Jakob only played 9 minutes prior to the fourth quarter starting. He only had 9 minutes prior to the fourth quarter starting. I'm not no mathematician, but you guys can do the math on that one. I think that's a massive reason why also the Clippers dominated the paint tonight. I get to the rotations. I don't understand. I don't understand why Jakob has fallen so far out of the rotation now that he's playing garbage minutes when he really shouldn't be.
That breaks Jonas' heart. He's almost going to shed a tear. That's his boy.
I know. I'm with you, Jonas. I'm a massive Jakob fan. I didn't know who he was when he first got here, but now 2 seasons in, I love the guy. He's a damn good center. But again, we're getting to it again. These rotations are just not working. And I tweeted out, I was like, if you guys went Christmas shopping tonight, I envy you. I'd rather stand in those lines, muscle my way for some Xboxes or something, than watch that Spurs game because that's how bad it was. Joe, you want to talk stats? Listen to this. Spurs are outscored in fast break points 26-13. They were outscored 38-22 in the third quarter. The Clippers outscored the Spurs 74-40 in points in the paint.
What was the bench scoring like? Do you have that?
Let me see where I got here. Let's see. It wasn't. I'd say that off the bench, Derek White and Marco Bellinelli were the only 2 in double figures. Let's just put it that way without really giving you the actual numbers because I really don't feel like doing math tonight. Well,
let me use my finger. I'll lend you my fingers.
Well, the Clippers had a bunch of, they had about 40-something points, or maybe more than that, I don't know, off the bench. The Clippers even had more bench points than the Spurs, which is an all-around bad night. But, Jonas, you actually put a tweet out earlier, and I responded to it, which was Tim Duncan and his body language on the court, or excuse me, on the bench. Again, what do you think about that? Yeah. Yes, exactly that. Why did you say it was a bad look? Why do you think it's a bad look?
Because if the coaches aren't even interested in turning this thing around, then what makes the players invested in turning this thing around? The whole reason why you bring a GOAT like Tim Duncan onto your bench, especially for the team that he played for, is to coach up these guys. You have LaMarcus Aldridge, who is, for all purposes, an underperforming big, right? Trey Lyles, who has a lot of potential but underperforming. Jakob Pertl, I think that his game, you're starting to see that little right-hand hook. He's starting to become a little bit more involved offensively, not just defensively. Obviously getting much better running the pick and roll. But you have Tim there to relay Spurs culture to young guys like Derek White, DeJounte Murray, feed it into even the veterans and Rudy Gay and DeMar DeRozan. Hey, I know you guys are from other teams, but this is how we do things here in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. He should be constantly talking to somebody on that bench. He shouldn't be stuck there next to Becky. I want to see him move down among the players and communicate. Ask them, what are you seeing out on the court? Because this is what I'm seeing. What was your thought here with this? Because that's how you coach these young guys. And like I said to you, Stephen, on Twitter, GOATs, when they're coaching, they don't make great coaches, right? Because they were great players. Right. They had that element in them that says, I'm going to try harder. I'm going to motivate myself to be the best, to do all the small nuances of this game. And they don't understand when guys don't already have that, because to them, it's a natural part of who they are and how they approach the game. So he is disinterested because I don't think that he knows how to communicate to these guys, because he can't say like, do what I used to do what Tony used to do what Manu used to do. The big three were the big three because they transcended themselves above the standard of the NBA. And I think that him looking so disinterested, it's a bad look for our players. It's a bad look for our fans. And from the outside fan base and media looking in, I don't want to see that on SportsCenter about how bad the game was, that even Tim Duncan was ready to take a nap in the third quarter, because that just does. I mean, we get upset about how we don't get national coverage anyway. That's not the national coverage you want. But when you're coming down as one of the top franchises, one of the example franchises in the NBA, that's what the rest of the media and what the rest of the NBA likes to do, is knock you down some pegs.
Right, and that's why I was telling you is that I don't see everyone's, and whenever Pop got ejected in that game, everyone thought it was Becky was the coach, or all this stuff happened. We thought it was Timmy that was the coach, and the Spurs played better. I'm sorry to say this, but the Spurs played better once Pop left, and it actually woke up a little bit.
You said it, not me, so you throw your rotten eggs and tomatoes at Steven.
That is true. Yes, I did. I will own all that. So here's the thing. Everyone says, oh, Timmy should be the next coach. I don't think he should, because of what you just said, Jonas. That's the thing. He looks disinterested. He doesn't look – and don't even get me started about what's growing on top of his head. I mean, there's a bunch of things out there that are –
Don't call out a man's hair, bro. Come on now.
I like the hair.
I like the hair too, man.
I'm not a fan, guys. I'm not a fan, but that's beside the point. He can change his hair. He can dye his hair blue for all I care. I don't care what he does with it. But my point is, he looks so disinterested. I even told this to Benjamin, Joe, before one of our shows. I said, what does Tim do? You don't see him with a clipboard. You don't see him. Becky has a clipboard every single time. So she's the second in command. And even
well, let me stop you right there. I'm going to tell you what Tim Duncan does, and you can see it out there on the court. Just look at some of these younger players. Look at their footwork. Look at block a portal. Look at what he's been able to do this season. What Timmy does might not be X's and O's, but what he helps these younger players with is development. More importantly, he's teaching them the fundamentals that they need to become better players.
Right. Well, I'm not saying like he needs to be out there drawing up plays, but what I'm saying is at least show an effort that you're actually care about the game.
Maybe he does care. I think he's just so disappointed about what's happening. That's his demeanor,
You can't do that as a coach. You can't do that as a coach.
He's an emotional guy. That's the thing, though. I think that's his emotions. That's his emotions getting the best of him right there.
Could you imagine if Pop, Becky, Timmy, all of our coaches have had the exact same expression, like how bad the media would come down on them? I mean, I get that it's Timmy, and don't get me wrong. Timmy's the best player to ever play the game. He's the best Spur. I'm not saying anything bad about him. What I am saying is now he's a coach. He's not that MVP player anymore. He is a coach. I view him now as a coach. I view Becky as a coach. I don't view Becky as the all-star in the WNBA. I view her as a coach. I view Timmy as a coach. So regardless of what he did in his playing career, great. But now translate some of that, your knowledge, into the players. And yes, you're right, Joe. Talk about development. He has helped. I see him in videos every time with LaMarcus out there helping him work on his jumper, helping Jakob work on his footwork. I see that. But when you're playing and when the team is playing out there, I want to see him at least stand up, get fired up at a call that doesn't go right. Becky stands up and gets fired up at a call. Even Will Hardy does.
But that's not Timmy's demeanor. He wasn't even like that when he was a player, so he's not going to be like that when he's a coach. Oh, let me answer some questions here real quick. Jason Garcia, he says, so why isn't LA better than what he is since TD became a coach? LA has gotten worse. I got the real simple answer for that. LaMarcus Aldridge doesn't want to allow himself to be coached by Timmy. While he might take some criticism, he's gonna and I've heard this firsthand. He'll say, "I'm good." He'll tell Timmy, "I'm good. I got this." He might take the criticism and he might let Timmy give him some tips or what have you. But LA is not that guy that's gonna say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna learn from you. You were the best in, one of the best power forwards in the NBA, arguably. I'm going to go ahead and let you work on me and make me better." LA thinks he's already at that level. I think it's just personal preference. And, at the end of the day, everybody's different.
Right.
LA is a former All-Star, and he's just cut from a different cloth. The guy just isn't as mentally tough and doesn't have that warrior spirit in him like Tim Duncan does. LA is just a different cat. He's cut from a different cloth, man, and he's just different, and it's okay to be different, but you also got to be performing at a high level. That's what you're getting paid to do, and that hasn't transpired. So hence everybody hates him so much and gets mad at him and wants him traded, including myself. He's just not that same type of player, period, that we, I guess, as fans had hoped he'd develop into, especially here in the Spurs system. So given that, he needs to go, So let's see what else Frank Rioja says. He says, Becky Hammon would do a better job than Pop. He says, it's because the Spurs team doesn't believe in him, and you can see it. It's not that the team doesn't believe in Coach Pop. Coach Pop is doing the best that he can out there with the personnel that he has. It's not Coach Pop per se. It's the personnel. You can only try to go out there and make this team play hard. It's up to them to figure things out ultimately and really want to go ahead and fix this thing. A lot of the problems stem not just, everybody wants to blame Coach Pop and the coaching staff. True, they have some blame to take. But the other flip side to that, or the other part of that coin, is the team itself needs to be held accountable. Each player needs to hold each other accountable for the product that's being put forth out there on the court any given night. So
Joe, I want to pause you there, dude, just because I think that should be Tim Duncan's job. A player that can communicate to players. He set up this Spurs standard. You don't get 20 years of consecutive playoff appearances without Tim Duncan as well. And he was the player side of that. So if he needs to communicate to these young guys what it is to have desire, again, he had it naturally. But if he needs to coach into these guys what it is to win, what it was like to go to the finals, what it's like to battle hard and be there for your brothers and not worry about contracts, free agency, and all the outside stuff, then that's what he needs to do. When you have a former player on your bench, that should be his role. I don't need him to worry about the X's and the O's and whatever. If he wants to worry about the Spurs development and practice, great. But that's why in game, he should be as far away from Pop as possible. Yep. Be on the opposite end of the bench next to the players and keep their heads in that game, because he could do it. And again, he didn't have to do it as much when he had Tony on the court, because Tony was going to keep himself engaged in the game as well. Manu was going to keep himself engaged in the game as well when he came off the bench. So it wasn't asked as much for him to do that for other players. But now is his time to hold them accountable because he is watching the dynasty that he helped build crumble like Rome right now. And he cannot stand for that.
One of the things that I guess you're not including as well is adversity. Adversity is a powerful teacher. And that's one of the things that we can take away from this season. In order for Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker to get better, they had to go through adversity. They had to go through disappointments. Especially in the playoffs. Last season was
disappointment. Last season was adversity.
This season is adversity too. You need these younger guys, this younger generation of player to go through these times.
But it has to stop somewhere.
It will stop somewhere. It will stop when they make it stop.
But he has to again, we don't have those GOAT mentalities on this roster right now. Nope. He needs to help infuse them, coach them how to be. We talk about it all the time. Who's the player on the Spurs that has the fire in them to close out a game? Who's going?
We don't have a closer, Jonas. We don't.
Exactly. But you can coach guys. You can coach DeJounte Murray. Don't let him go to the bench and get caught in his head. Go sit down there next to him. Tim Duncan knows the weight of greatness. He carried that load for what? I want to say 16 seasons.
Sounds about right, yeah.
And he carried that load, right? DeJounte wasn't supposed to carry that load. That was supposed to be Kawhi Leonard's load, okay?
Yeah.
Kawhi's gone. And he learned how to carry that load from champions as well. So guess what? DeJounte's the next man up. So Tim needs to coach him up on how to be a champion, how to be a winner, and how to close things out. Check in with him. He is the future of your franchise. We just invested in him. So Tim needs to invest in him as well. And that's where this needs to start. You can face adversity. Last season was adversity. DeJounte tearing his ACL was adversity. But you can only go through so much of a gauntlet before you have to, and take those beatings before you have to start saying, what am I doing to rise above this situation? And right now they're not doing anything to rise above the situation. They're just saying, we have nobody's interested on our team in winning. Our coaches are taking naps on the bench. So why should we have to worry about any of this?
Yeah, well, this is the situation, current situation with the way the Spurs are playing and the way their season is unfolding before us. It all has to do with winning. Once you start winning makes everything better. Right now, you can see it in the body language of both the coaches and the players. And what I see is frustration. You see them out there and you see them coming off the bench and you see them on the bench. You see them after games and they're having to talk to the media. And yet again, here we are having to explain why are we playing so poorly? And basically we have the same type of system in place that we've always had for the last 20 plus years. We have Coach Pop and we have a healthy roster right now. We didn't have DeJounte on the squad last season due to injury. We have him this season. The only thing that the Spurs are missing is one Davis Bertans, who, might I add, is playing quite well for the 76ers. But even if you had Davis Bertans inserted into this lineup, you'd probably still have the same product out there. So I think a lot of this has to do with the mentality. It has to do with the vibe that's going on right now. And right now the vibe is telling you that everybody right now is in dire straits. There's something that needs to change.
But that's coaching.
Yeah, and there's something that needs to change. Something needs to happen. They need to be injected with some positivity. They need to be told, look, the season isn't over. The season is very much still yours. You can still compete. You can still make this thing palatable. You still can go out there and put together some winning streaks. You can put 4 or 5 games in a row. You might drop 1 or 2 to really good teams, but when you're losing to lesser teams that you're capable of playing better than, and then you can beat teams at times that are a lot better than you. Something's going on, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's maybe some type of issue going on in the behind the scenes that we're not aware of, but something obviously is wrong with this team, and we don't know what it is, and there's no easy fix for it. That's the sad part. It's going to be frustrating, not just for the diehard Spurs fans, but even the new Spurs fans, the ones that aren't used to the team losing, the ones that might have come in at the end of the Tim Duncan era, where they saw the team win a 2014 NBA championship, and they saw Kawhi be the MVP, and they saw the Spurs hoisting up that trophy. They saw the beautiful game. Those days are gone, man. I mean, we can always talk about the good days, the good old days, the golden era, but that's gone. Timmy, Tony, and Manu aren't coming off that bench anytime soon. This is a new era that we're in right now, and we need for these younger players to start stepping up. Even some of our seasoned veterans, they should be the teachers out there, passing on that knowledge, that corporate knowledge, onto this younger generation of player as well. Like we see Patty Mills at times. We see Patty Mills. Yeah. We see Patty Mills out there on the court. And Patty is one of the most seasoned veterans that we have on here. He's still a holdover from the 2014 NBA championship, along with Baloney, Marco Beninelli, but he is no longer that type of player anymore. Yes, he does these off-balance, jump shots, and that's his claim to fame, but he has been very inconsistent this season, as has most of the squad. So in closing here, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys your chance to chime in here. How would you fix a team? We'll start with you, Jonas. You put your coach's hat on, man. You're the coach. You're Coach Pop out there. How are you going to fix this team?
I went on for a minute about it before. If I'm Coach Popovich, I'm pulling Timmy aside because I need him. He is the catalyst, I think, because when you talk about the desire, you talk about the sharing of the system, and the corporate knowledge. DeMar DeRozan, this is his second year here off of a trade. He can't share that corporate knowledge. Rudy Gay's been here for 3 seasons? He can't share that corporate knowledge. LaMarcus Aldridge can't share that corporate knowledge. And you just worked your way through your veterans. So who's DeJounte learning it from? Who's Derek White learning it from? Who's Lonnie Walker learning it from? Trey Lyles is brand new. Who's he learning it from? Jakob Poeltl, who's he learning it from? DeMarre Carroll, who is he picking it up from? And this is his first year with the system. So the Spurs way, that's what I think that Tim Duncan should be there for. And you don't need to worry about the G League guys. None of them are ready, not even Keldon, because they're not playing defense at their level. They did just pick up a win tonight. Shout out to Austin, but
they're still developing.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. We're not even worried about Austin. And I'm not worried about any trades. I think this team can make it to the Western Conference Finals. That sounds crazy. I know. I think that
he has not been drinking, folks. Jonas has not been drinking tonight.
I have not had a single sip tonight. So
tonight,
right. So I think that we have the shooters, right? Bryn is going through a really rough stretch right now. Whatever is up with his confidence. I mean, he went 6 for 6 the other night in the first half of a game, and then I want to say maybe 0 for 5 over the previous 2. He obviously had a really rough night tonight. Marco hasn't quite been hitting. DeMar DeRozan entered his slump. Yes, he always played, and I shared this earlier this week. He always plays great against the Clippers. That's just what he does. Or Kawhi-led teams, I should say, rather. Just because I think that he's still trying to prove that he was worth it in that trade. Toronto has a title. We don't, but I'm still a DeMar DeRozan fan. We have the talent to make the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
We have the veterans to make the Western Conference Finals. We have the shooting ability when we can shoot the ball to make the Western Conference Finals.
We don't have the defense.
We beat the Clippers, we beat the Lakers, and we beat the Rockets this season. So it can be done. What's that going to look like in a 7-game series? I have no idea. But we can do it. They need to have the mentality going into every game, Joe and Steven, that they should win that game. I've said it time and time again here, Joe, that they play to the level of their competition.
If that was the case, they laid an egg tonight, Jonas.
It's not a hard fact, but look across the season. Most of the losses this season have come within 10 points. Lots of them we've been playing from behind in, and we come back and we push it close at the end. But and that's going for teams like the Cavaliers and the Knicks, and that's going teams like the Clippers and the Lakers and the Rockets. We were down 22 to the Rockets, and Lonnie Walker led us back to win it in overtime. So they need to come into every game thinking that they can win that game and that they should win that game with that level of competition. Whatever it is, they need to get in between their ears. And again, I think that starts with Tim Duncan. So I'm not changing anything, Joe, to answer your question, except for I'm Coach Popovich. I'm going to Timmy, and I'm saying I need you to help me coach these young guys. That was the question last year. Can Coach Popovich speak to these young guys? I don't know what he thought the answer was, but he went and got Tim Duncan. Show him all your rings, Timmy. Pop him on one day. Come into the locker room and give him a motivational speech about what it takes to fight for the brothers next to you on that bench. Whatever.
Let me read some comments here. Jason Garcia, Jason Garcia says, "Why didn't the Spurs keep Kyle Anderson, the other wing defender?"
Oh God.
Oh God. And Jason says, the only good thing the Spurs have right now is adding Hall of Fame TD21 jersey to the rafters. And then he said something about, let's see, I'm looking for the comment. He said something about the Cowboys. Oh, because we were talking about 5 championships. He goes, might as well be a Cowboys fan. Really what's happening right now is the Spurs are very much like the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to break your heart.
Yep.
And
I'm a Cowboys fan. That's true.
Yeah, P Dion21 from YouTube, he's watching. He says, "What's up, guys? He was at the game tonight. This team's rotations are crap. Forbes shouldn't be starting." I gotta agree with him in that one. Frank Riojas Jr. says, "How about start Damari Carroll and block a portal? Let DeRozan and LMA come off the bench and see how that works. That would throw the team in total disarray." They would demand a trade.
If you make any change to the starting rotation, I think it would be to finally give fans what they've wanted, which is DeJounte and Derek White.
Yeah.
Control the pace of the game from the get-go with defense. Just go ahead and do it. Yeah. I think that if you have DeJounte, put Derek out there, keep DeMar out there, you can still keep LA and then put Jakob at the 5. Control the pace. Don't let it get out of hand.
Increase your defense.
Exactly. If I'm making any change, I don't think you need to worry about benching those stars because, again, my solution is not to even trade those guys. But I think that you could do that and control the pace of game because DeJounte is coming off the injury. Play Derek a little bit longer into that second unit. Let him take control there. Give DeJounte his rest. And then you can start rotating those guys and have them both fresh for the 4th.
Yeah, and Steven, let's go ahead and hear your take in closing here. You're going to change the Spurs, situation this season. You're the coach. How are you going to fix this thing, man?
Well, like Jonas said, I really wouldn't do much to the starting 5 except take out Bryn Forbes. If he cannot...
Good old barbecue.
If he cannot shoot the ball well, he is a liability. So you put Derek White next to DeJounte, DeMar, LA, and yes, Jakob Poeltl back in the starting 5. That is,
you say his name right. It's Blocka Poeltl.
Ever since he came out of the starting five, the Spurs have sucked defensively. That's just, don't believe me? Look at the last couple of games and judge for yourself. The Spurs have sucked defensively ever since Jakob came out of the starting five. So I would definitely put him back in. As for trades and all that garbage, no, you do not make a trade. Because why? You're already crap, playing like crap as it is. You're going to bring in, hypothetically, let's say the Spurs trade both LA and DeMar, hypothetically, right? You're going to bring in maybe two or three new guys who don't know the Spurs system, who Pop is already talking about Damari Carroll over here not knowing the Spurs system, so that's why he is not playing right now, which I understand completely. I completely understand you need to learn the system. Marco Bellinelli had to go through it. I get it. I get it. So that's why he's not playing right now. But you mean to tell me it's a lot, not you, Joe or Jonas, but the fans. Your solution is to trade for two guys that Pop is probably not going to play anyway because they don't know the system. That doesn't scream improvement to me. But if the Spurs make a trade and trade LA and DeMar and bring in a couple other guys, the chances of Pop playing those guys are very small. He's going to go to guys that have already been here. So let's not even go there. So that's why I would not make a trade. I would ride this thing out to the end of the season, and then whatever happens after that happens. But I would put in Derek White into the starting five, put in Jakob Poeltl into the starting five. You bring Bryn Forbes off the bench in that shooter role. You bring Patty Mills off the bench like you've been doing. Get Lonnie Walker some playing time. If Marco sucks, keep his ass on the bench. Put Damari Carroll in. It can't get any worse than it's already been. So I think Pop needs to change his rotations around and try to find what fits and what works. Marco Bellinelli had a great game tonight. I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't. He had a nice game, 17 points, a season high for him, shooting-wise. Good game. Not going to sit here and fault that.
Yeah,
Can he give you that? Can he give you that every night? No, he cannot. I am not a mind reader, but I can tell you based on past performances, you will not see him score 17 points until probably March. Let's just be real about that. That's what I would say. Those are the things that really need to change with the Spurs team. And I told you this before, Joe and Wesley and Jonas, I've told you this, I think, where, guys, this team is too talented to be where they are. They're not playoff number 1, number 2 seed type team, but they are at least 7 or 8. This is the exact same team from a year ago, and something is not clicking right. That's what I'm saying. Something is not going right, maybe internally with the coaching staff or maybe internally in the locker room. Something is not going right for this team to be where they are. This is the exact same team from a year ago, and they're fundamentally worse. And that screams alarm bells to me that something may be going on internally rather than on the court.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait it out and see what happens. There's nothing else that we can say or do, because we can snap our fingers right now, and the Spurs will still be the same old team that they are. Nothing's going to change, So maybe Coach Pop's stubbornness will benefit us in some way.
In years, guys.
Really quick, one small thing that I think that can really improve, guys. The stat that popped out to me the most. I mean, we've talked about them all, but I think the turnovers. That's popped up over and over this season. We had 18 to the Clippers 12. The most glaring part of that was that we gave up 36 points off of the turnovers versus only 17 off of their 12. So that means that they literally converted at least on average 2 points from every turnover. That's a conversion of every turnover we had tonight.
Oh my God. Shots fired, points. Jonas. Shots fired.
36 points is the difference between winning and losing this game.
Jason Garcia threw shots at you. He says, at least we're not the Cleveland Browns. Oh my God.
Oh. My Browns still have a chance at the playoffs. Thank you very much. We need 4 games to go the right way this week and 4 games to go the right way next week, but we still have a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance. And if you want to go there, sure. Because let's talk about potential, guys.
And if the moon aligns with Jupiter and Venus at this exact, equation or whatever, the Browns will win. I'm like, come on now, man. It's not going to happen, man.
there's a chance for that. But if you want to bring in the Browns into it, fine. Because I'm excited about both teams because of the potential.
Yes.
And this, unlike the Browns, who are playing in week 16 and 17 of their season, we're just now approaching the halfway mark of ours. And going into this game, we were one game out of the 8th seed in the West. We've battled back, y'all. So the hope is still there.
Yeah.
So this season's not over, Joe. I don't know why we're talking lottery balls, because we're still a way away from that. Yes,
well, we'll see how you feel. We'll see how you feel when we revisit this whole situation again, when we're at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And we'll see what the record looks like then, and see if those lottery balls, you take a smell of them because they're going to be smelling good, because you're going to want a higher pick.
I don't think we're going to be in that discussion this year. I think it's still going to stand.
I'm going to keep this tape. I'm going to keep this tape.
Steven is right. This team is way too talented to be talking lottery. Way too talented.
Damn, Jonas, you've been sniffing some glue or something before you came on, or what?
I was writing the numbers on the lottery balls for you with permanent
Sharpie.
markers.
You were
So
you were with the Sharpie, right? You were.
I might have a little
taking
high
a little
from that.
Taking a little sniff of the Sharpie. That's what I thought.
But
hey, but one thing.
This team is way too talented.
True that, man. Frank Riojas Jr. He says, "Go Niners, go," because the San Francisco's 49ers.
They won that, didn't they?
Yeah, they dispatched the Rams 34-31.
Ooh.
And I'm not feeling sorry for any Rams fans tonight. So.
Neither am I.
Jason, hit me up on Twitter if you want to talk football, bro. We'll go all day for that.
We went brown to balls. Wow.
Oh
Jason, you might want to rephrase that, bro. My God.
I do agree with you, Jonas. I will say this. The Spurs have a very bright future ahead of them, regardless of how crappy things are right now, regardless of how frustrated all three of us are, the fans and everybody are. The Spurs have a bright future in Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, DeJounte Murray, Derek White,
Quindary Weatherspoon, Q.
Derry Weatherspoon, or as I call him, Q Spoon. I mean, there's a bunch of ways. The Spurs have a lot of potential and a bright future ahead of them. Becky Hammond could possibly be the next coach of the Spurs. We can get in that discussion later on. But
yeah, discussion for that though, is she ready? Yeah. That's the discussion.
Yes,
everybody's pointing to her, but is she ready? We don't know that.
We don't. And the reason why we don't know that is because she hasn't coached. She has not coached.
True that.
She has not. She had an opportunity when Pop got ejected, but it was obviously we knew Timmy scouted. Who was it? Portland that night. Whoever it was that got ejected that night. So that's why he was there. Pop will be ejected again in the future if the Spurs continue to play the way they have been.
If I was Pop, I'd get ejected this next game just for the hell of it, man.
Yeah.
Why even wait, dude? Just like 1 second in. That's it. Toss me out, man. I'm out.
First turnover, just get in the guy's face and go home. Go get some wine in the back and go to town. I mean, it's pointless at this point. But I mean, that's the only way we're going to know if she's ready. If she actually coaches again, and I'm not talking about coaching with a minute left in the fourth quarter. I'm talking about, let's say Pop gets ejected in the 5 minutes of the game. She coached the rest of the game and she manages to have the Spurs win, or at least have them look better than they have been. I would say she's ready. But you're right, Joe. We don't know if she's ready because she hasn't had the opportunity. But the point is, the Spurs have a very bright future. And I do agree with you, Jonas. Maybe I'm sniffing the same marker you're sniffing, but I do believe that the Spurs are going to make the playoffs as the 7 or 8 seed. I know it doesn't look like that right now, but look at the schedule is going to get lighter once January gets here. It's going to get a little lighter around the middle of January, I believe, and then they go into that massive road trip, the rodeo road trip. That's going to be very tough. So if the Spurs can manage to get some key wins against bottom feeder teams that they're going to be playing in January, they could be right there once the All-Star break hits to be half a game or a game out of that 8 seed. And if they are, I don't think they make a straight. I think they make a run for it and see what happens.
I think both of y'all been smoking that good tonight before we got on here. And y'all didn't invite me, so I'm got my feelings hurt. Second, I don't think this team's going to make the playoffs. I know that Jonas says, he can envision them going all the way to the Western Conference Finals with the talent that they have on here. Steven says they can make the 7th or 8th seed. I got no faith in this team. When I look at them, out there on the court and watching the same product that's been put forth every night. You can slap a name brand label on it, but at the end of the day, it's still Hill Country Fair. That ain't going to change, So they are who they are, man. The name on the chest, on the jersey says Spurs. But underneath the core, it's rotten, man. Something needs to change. I think we need to go ahead and just blow the whole damn thing up already. I'm already tired.
What good would that accomplish?
I'm tired of mediocrity, man. We know that LMA's not working.
It's not going to accomplish anything.
LMA doesn't work. LMA doesn't work. He's a former All-Star.
You let him walk when his
That's what I'm
ends.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Don't re-sign him. Don't re-sign him.
But you can't go in the past and fix that. All you can do is move forward, right? But if I've used this before, and everybody wants to talk Browns with me. That's fine, because guess what happens when you keep resetting a franchise? You go nowhere. Then you really are the Browns of the NBA, and have fun with that. Because nobody, just like we can't wait to watch the Warriors collapse, and we're reveling in their 5-23 or whatever record it is they have right now. We loved kicking the Lakers when they were down. Everybody's standing up in line right now, waiting to kick our asses when we actually do have to rebuild instead of just reload. So if you want to blow it up right now, then we're going to enter the rebuild phase. And if you're going into it with a new head coach, you're going into it with a new roster and a discontinuation of the Spurs way and Spurs basketball, get ready for 15 years of mediocrity, Joe. This is not mediocrity yet.
But who's to say that if we're going to eventually get a new head coach, right? At some juncture, we're going to get a new head coach. Right. Who's to say that new head coach is going to come in here and instantly make the team great again? There's no guarantee for that either.
It's not making them great again, though, Joe. It's about keeping. Okay, so like I said, the guys that they have right now. Let's hypothetically say Pop retires next season and a new coach comes in. I don't think DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Lonnie Walker are all going to leave with Pop. I don't see that happening.
No, they won't.
You're going to keep this same group that they have right now. With obviously DeMar may or may not come back. Let's not go there. Let's say he leaves DeMar. Somebody comes and fills that spot that DeMar leaves. And that new coach will take that young core and mold them into how he sees them. And how to continue, he saw what the potential they have, and will mold them into the next phase of that. Does that mean the Spurs are going to go win 65 games and be the number one seed? No. But they could possibly be 6, 7, 5. Who knows? I mean, that's not. Look, we talk about Golden State right now, Jonas. You brought up Golden State. They have the worst record in the West right now. That's because Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are out. They're going to be back next season. They're probably going to get a high pick, 1, 2, 3, 4. Golden State will. And when they do add that piece into all already made core of Golden State's going to be right back up there in next season. They're going to be right back in the top 5, along with the Lakers, along with the Clippers. So it's not going to be a cakewalk for the Spurs, regardless of what coach they have, regardless of what players they have. But I do disagree with you, Joe, on that fact of blow it up, because every Spurs fan I see blow it up, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but what I mean is, like, what good will that accomplish? I get you're frustrated with mediocrity. So am I. There's times where I don't even want to watch the game. And honestly, if I wasn't covering the team, I probably wouldn't even watch it half the time. But I'm just being real. But that's the thing, is that there's no reason to be wanting to blow this team up when they have potential to be good already. They're a piece or 2 or 3 or 4 away from really finding themselves. And I'm talking about getting rid of that. I already said it. LA, DeMar, LaMarcus core. Get rid of that threesome core and put in the young guys.
I'll tell you who can go right now, just off the top of my head. Bryn, LA? He can go. LA, he can go. Yep. DeMar?
Why would you?
DeMar DeRozan, he can go. Marco Bellinelli, see you later, buddy. You know, they can go, man.
Marco.
I'm done.
I mean, all three of us are in agreement about Marco.
Yeah.
All 3 of us are in agreement about LA.
Right.
And I think DeMar's the one where I'm iffy about, because he's a good scorer. He's a very talented scorer. I'm not debating
But he's not a clutch player, man. When he has his moments in clutch And in
Right.
crunch time, he's gonna miss.
Right.
You know,
He's not a clutch player. I agree with you on that. I will say this though, who is a clutch player? We saw Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker had a damn good game against Houston. He continues to show his stuff and play well when given the opportunity. Now he's not going to go out there and score 20 points every night. He's not, because he's still young. He's going to have games like tonight where he struggled. That's how you learn. That is how you learn, and you learn your way in the NBA.
but you ain't learning when you're on the bench and you have baloney out there getting your minutes.
That's what I'm saying. In this hypothetical situation, you have Marco gone. You have LA gone. You have Rudy Gay gone. You have Lonnie out there who is playing well. I would not get rid of Bryn Forbes. I would actually keep him around because he is a good shooter.
He's an undersized shooting guard that's a liability on defense. He can go, man. I need to get somebody out there that can play defense.
I'm not saying you put him in there for his defense. I'm saying you keep him out there for his shooting. If you remember, I think it was Steve Kerr, whenever he first came to San Antonio, he couldn't play defense to save his life, but he could shoot the ball. And he stayed out there and he shot the ball very well, hit some big threes for the Spurs when the time came. There was times when Pop didn't even play Steve Kerr and just put him into the game to shoot threes, and he shot those threes. That could be the role that Bryn Forbes plays. Not really play there for your defense, get in the game when you need some offense.
Yeah, and then bring him off the bench. Don't insert him as a starter. That's what that's what I'm trying to get at.
That's fine.
We already took him out of the starting lineup earlier, and I know that everybody's riding the Davis Bertans train right now. Let's not forget how he stumbled down the stretch last year, and the liability that he was
playoffs,
on
mind you, in the playoffs.
So we can. I mean, Kyle Anderson came up earlier on the comment.
Oh, Jesus.
Let these players go. We let them go for a reason, and just because they might find success in another organization, let me ask you one question: how many banners does Washington have?
Oh yeah, they.
Right. So what does it matter? This is the Spurs system. If they don't fit in your championship caliber system, then what does it matter? Kawhi Leonard, exception, but he also forced his way out. We didn't let him go, right? So that's a big difference between all of that. But if you want to get on Bryn right now and say cut him, then you can't in the same breath say that we should have Davis Bertans still, because similarly.
Oh no, I'm not saying we should have Davis. I said Davis. He's having a good season away from the Spurs, but if he was still with the team, we would still have the same product out there. He wouldn't instantly come in here and make them that much more better. We'd still have them losing games.
But in the 3-ball era with regarding Bryn Forbes, because Davis is gone. Again, you can't fix the past. But you don't let a 3-ball shooter with his potential go. Marco, send him off. But Bryn can still be formed, right? He can still be molded. Defense can be taught. He might not be a top-level defender, but you can still teach him and work on getting him in the right position.
You can teach all those things, Jonas, but you can't help the dude grow 3 more inches, and that's the problem.
But small guys can play defense still too. It's about using what you've got and learning how to leverage your attributes. That's how you have small guys like Isaiah Thomas in the league, right? Because they learn how to play to their skill set, to what they got. He can't dunk the basketball as easily as Taco Fall, who made it into the Celtics game the other night, because you've got a 2-foot difference between the two guys, right? So I'm not going to get on Isaiah Thomas because he can't, defend a much taller position, but he shouldn't be asked to. And if he's coming off the bench in a support role position, again, I think that's what we already fixed the starting 5 earlier by inserting Derek White in his spot and adding Jakob at the 5 and keeping LA at the 4. We fixed that earlier, right?
Yeah.
And
Jason's got jokes tonight, man. Jason's got jokes tonight.
Jason's had a few to drink, I'm sure. Yeah. But that's what it is. And you can't go back and you can't fix it. But there's nothing wrong with keeping what you got and rolling forward. I've said it before on here too, Joe. You can't dance with the hottest girl at the dance if you don't make it to the dance in the first place, right?
That's true.
Dancing with the hottest girl is winning a title. But you got to show up to the dance first. And what's that mean? Being top 8 in your conference. So get to the playoffs, and from there, anything can happen. Injuries happen, fatigue happens, all that jazz. We know all ends of that as Spurs fans, right? So just get there, and then trust your coach to hopefully figure out his lineups by then. Because we've been experimenting, we haven't found the right lineups, but we're still in contention. And if you can experiment for that whole time and consider it a load management of sorts, just in terms of figuring out who you want to roll with.
Yeah.
You just did a whole season full of research, made it to the playoffs, and now you know what it's like to have 60 million different combinations of players out there for when you need it in crunch time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason, because I said Brent Forbes needs to grow through. You can't make him grow 3 more inches. Jason says, that's what she said, Joe. That's
Oh
why I
my
say
gosh.
Jason's got jokes tonight, man. Jason's got jokes tonight. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and come to a close here on this episode of the Spurs Takeover. So before we do that, Jonas, where can they reach you on social media?
Well, this one, Jason, listen up here, buddy. If you're on Twitter, @JarkClonus. Go ahead, bring me all your Browns takes. I will handle it all, my friend. I've dealt with it for 20 plus years. I can continue to deal with you too. @JarkClonus on Twitter. I follow the Austin Spurs big time and heavy. I've had the opportunity to write a handful of articles for Project Spurs, so you can check that out. You'll see a couple of my articles out there. And yes, Spurs Rampage fan, Steven, I love your coverage of the team.
Thank you.
Anything San Antonio, the Browns, the Spurs, of course, Browns out of Cleveland, but and a brand new Man City fan, guys. I have a Premier League.
Oh, nice.
I have a Premier League soccer team as of last weekend, and we are 3-0 since I became a supporter of the Citizens. With the Citizens. So hit me up on Twitter @JarkClonus.
Oh,
Go
Jason's
block the
over.
Pirtle. #BlockThePirtle.
Jason's over here saying Seahawks. Your Seahawks are 11-3, and they're going to face the lowly Cardinals tomorrow at 3:25. I'm going to be watching a much better game in my Dallas Cowboys meeting the Philadelphia Eagles, or what I like to call them, La Lechuzas Cagadas in Spanish. So you can go ahead and do your translation on that. But we'll see what happens in that game. I'm going to be watching that one. So with you, Steven, where can they get a hold of you on social media?
I'm gonna head to Google and look up that translation right now. But you guys can find me on Twitter @TheStephen_A_. You can find me on Instagram and of course on Facebook @TheStephenA_. Like Jonas said, I do cover the San Antonio Rampage, who had their game tonight. It did not turn out how they had hoped. They fell tonight to Manitoba. That recap will be up on Project Spurs Network. Right. I'll have on Project Spurs. I'll have a recap of some sort of the debacle we watched tonight of Spurs Clippers. And of course, you guys can chat with me, Dallas Cowboys football tomorrow at 3:15. Joe, I'll be right there with you watching it. Cowboys Eagles. I'm excited for that one. Spurs. If the Cowboys win, they will get their division. So I'm very excited about that. But as addition to the Spurs and Rampage, I cover San Antonio FC, UIW football, UTSA. So there's a bunch of, my timeline will be full of sports, regardless of when you follow me. And if I don't talk to you guys again, I hope you both have a very Merry Christmas. So,
Same to you, Steven, and same to you, Jonas.
You.
And of course, for everybody that's watching, I hope you all have a safe and happy holiday. Spend time with family and friends. That's what the season's all about. And it's also about giving back to the community and giving back to anybody who might be in need. So make sure you go out there and do something kind on Christmas Day for somebody else. Jason says, drinking a Bud Light Orange with a pinky in the air. I think that's how he's going to be watching the Seahawks tomorrow. His Seahawks when they lose to the Cardinals.
On to Memphis, y'all. On to Memphis.
Yeah, on to Memphis.
Well, they can get a hold of me, Two Shots Podcast, and it's all spelled out, TWOSHOTS Podcast, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. Yes, we have a YouTube channel where you can go ahead and catch the backlog of videos we have, including those of the Spurs Takeover. And Spurs Takeover is brought to you in partnership with the folks over at Project Spurs. So make sure you go over to projectspurs.com and check out all the great Spurs content that they have for you. And if you're into entertainment news and anything that has to do with the world of sports, and specifically local sports, make sure you go and check out the great content that is available at ProjectSpursNetwork.com. So for Jonas Clark and Steven Anderson, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you guys for listening and for watching another episode of the Spurs Takeover. And like we always say, spread the love, be kind, and stop the hate. So make sure that you all have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.